So people always seem to wonder how much money YouTubers actually make, which is why in this video, I'm gonna break down my 12 different streams of income across the last 6 years of this journey of being a YouTuber. If you're new here, my name is Ali, and I used to work as a doctor in the UK's National Health Service, but 3 years into doing this YouTube channel thing, things started to take off, and so I decided that I was gonna take a break from medicine and explore this internet career more as a full-time thing. And in the last 6 years now, it's been an absolutely wild journey that has completely changed my life, and so on this channel, I like to share as much of the behind-the-scenes stuff as possible. Now, I do these videos every year where I document the business revenue and our costs and like the ups and downs and the failures and lessons learned along the way. But I want to give the usual caveat that nothing in this video is intended to be a flex. And since starting to do these videos where I've been super candid about the numbers, I've had hundreds of messages from people who've been inspired by some way through this sort of thing. And as I break down what this has looked like over the last 6 years, you'll hopefully see that this is by no means an overnight success story. So essentially for each of these 12 income streams, I'm going to show you how it's changed from 2017 through 2022, i.e. the last 6 years. I'm going to start with some context around how this thing actually makes money and how you can potentially get started with it if you want. Income stream number 1, YouTube AdSense. So Google has this program called AdSense, which is how most YouTubers make the bulk of their money. And that's essentially those 5, 10, 15, 30-second ads that you see before videos. Now, generally, an advertiser will pay Google to display that particular ad. And then depending on essentially how many people are bidding for that ad, that dictates what the price of that particular ad is. And so YouTube is getting a certain amount of money from advertisers for displaying those ads, and they do a 45-55% cut. So 55% of what they get paid by the advertiser gets paid out to the creator. And essentially what that means is that anytime you watch or even skip one of those ads, then the YouTuber who the video that ad is playing on gets paid a certain amount of money. So what is that amount of money? Well, it varies a massive amount depending on what kind of niche you're in, depending on what country you're in. And it all comes into this number called RPM, which is revenue per meal, which is revenue per 1,000 views. So how much is that revenue? Well, it really depends on how much advertisers actually want to bid on a particular channel or a particular topic. So for example, if you're a finance channel, your revenue, your RPMs are very high because finance companies are bidding on ads on those channels and finance companies have loads of money. But if, for example, you do content aimed at students or you do content mostly aimed at people in countries where the purchasing power is not great, then the revenue per meal, the RPM goes way down. So across the last 6 years on YouTube, this is what my own RPM has looked like. So I first got monetized in around April 2018. And at the time I was making 70p, which is about $1-ish per 1,000 views. But we can see that over time, as the channel has grown, it kind of dips, it goes up and down. And then towards the end of 2020, we were getting to the £3 level of RPM, which is great. That means I'm getting £3 or $3.50-ish for every 1,000 views on the channel. But we can see that around about April, May 2021, we've got this big spike. That spike was probably driven by the pandemic where loads more people are online, but I think also that spike was driven by, that was when I started making vaguely financial themed content. And so the handful of videos that I have about passive income or about investing and stuff are massively skewing the RPMs for the channel as a whole. And we can see that these days the RPM is around about £6, £7 per 1,000 views. So for every 1,000 views we get on this channel, the channel will make around £6 or £7. Now, if you want to be eligible for this money, you have to join the YouTube Partner Program, which is essentially when YouTube starts paying you for the ads that they display on your videos. But to join the Partner Program, you need to have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. So if you get one viral video and then loads of people watch that video, it's easy enough to hit monetization, but a lot of creators will spend ages, months, if not years sometimes, struggling to get to that 1,000 subscriber or 4,000 hours watch time milestone so that they can actually become monetized and start earning money from YouTube. So looking at our stats, in 2017, I made a grand total of $2.27 off of the YouTube AdSense program. This was mostly because this was pre-monetization. In April 2018, that was when we got monetized and the channel made $16,459 in AdSense that year. And just for a bit of context, in 2017, I started the channel with 0 subscribers. That year, I made 65 videos, and in 65 videos, the channel grew to 1,600 subscribers. Yeah. And then in 2018, half of that year, I was still in medical school, and the other half of the year, I started working as a doctor. In 2018, I made 85 videos and the channel grew to 125,000 subscribers. For all of 2019, I was working full-time as a doctor, so that year I made 64 videos. The channel grew to 487,000 subscribers, and in total we made $42,385 in YouTube ads. In 2020, I was working most of the year as a doctor. This was pandemic times, but then the final 4 months of the year, that was when I took a break from medicine. And so that year I made 104 videos, including 5 shorts. And in 2020, the channel absolutely exploded and grew from 487,000 subscribers in 2019 to 1.32 million in 2020. And this was almost certainly the pandemic effect as well, where loads of people were online because, well, it was the pandemic. And that meant that our total AdSense revenue for 2020 was $129,262. And then we came to 2021, and this was my first, I guess, full year as a full-time YouTuber, although even then I was only kind of doing the YouTube channel part-time and working on a bunch of other business stuff. But that year we managed to publish 86 videos and 12 shorts. The channel grew to 2.5 million subscribers. And in 2021, our total AdSense revenue was $464,552. And then we come to this year, 2022. So this year we've only managed to make 58 videos, which is on average just over 1 video a week, and also 25 shorts. The channel has grown to 3.6 million subscribers, which is pretty cool. And this year we've done around $653,299 in terms of YouTube AdSense. This has mostly been driven by just a handful of videos like passive income ideas and how to invest, and videos about making websites, where it seems that videos about finance and also about websites are the ones that have the most advertisers bidding on them. And so these videos can make a stupidly enormous amount of revenue just off a single video alone. And I think what's cool about that is, for example, if we look at this video, this 9 passive income ideas video, which is a video I made, I think a year and a half ago, in total, this has done £164,500 in revenue, which is just absolutely insane. Similarly, I did a video about how to invest for beginners, a 29-minute long video where I just broke down how to get started with investing in stocks and shares and what that process looks like. And again, that video alone has done over £100,000 in revenue just for that video. And if we look at this page over here, these top 3 videos, passive income ideas, how to invest for beginners, and how to build a website in 2022, just these 3 videos account for a third of all of the revenue that this YouTube channel has made across like 510 videos. But also I think it speaks to the power of choosing your niche. Like if I were starting a YouTube channel today completely from scratch, I would probably choose something in the finance or business niche because I would need to get like less than 10 times fewer views to get the same amount of money. And so that kind of sensible decision making would feed into my strategy for a YouTube channel. Income stream number 2, Amazon Associates. Okay, so now we're getting into ways of monetizing off of YouTube. And actually most of these other income streams that we're going to talk about are ways to monetize not directly on YouTube itself. And Amazon Associates is the world's largest affiliate program. Essentially the idea is that you can be a YouTuber of any size. In fact, you can be basically anyone, and you can sign up for an Amazon Associates account. Now what this means is that you sign up for an account with Amazon, you give them your details, all this kind of stuff. And what that means is that if you're sharing links to Amazon product pages, let's say you make a video recommending some books and you put links to the books in the video description, which is something that I do quite a lot, you can tag those links with your special Amazon Associates ID. That means that anytime someone makes a purchase of one of those products through your link, you will earn some percentage of that sale from Amazon. So it might be 0.1, it might be 1%, it might be 2%. It's like small numbers like that. But if you're selling particularly high value stuff, like camera gear that costs thousands of dollars, or you just have a huge audience and you're able to sell lots of stuff through Amazon affiliate links, these numbers can add up slowly over time. So in 2017, I made a grand total of $0 from Amazon Associates, but in 2018, I managed to make $548. In 2019, we made $1,554. In 2020, we made $7,194. In 2021, we made $29,886. And this year, in 2022, we made $44,163 off of Amazon Associates. Now, interestingly, these were the links that drove the most traffic. So I had a video about my evidence-based skincare routine earlier this year, which seemed to remarkably go viral. And in that video, we had links to like a moisturizer and a face cream and stuff like that. And in that video, I was not being sponsored by those companies, by CeraVe or Altruist or anything at all. I just mentioned the products because I like them. And we put Amazon affiliate links in the video description so that when clearly 1,282 people-ish clicked on those links and they bought those products. And so that generated some amount of money for us, like 1% of the sale price of the item, which would have been about around 7 cents. But if enough people order that, then it becomes somewhat interesting amounts of money. So essentially, anytime I mention a book or a product in these videos, which is very often, we'll always put an Amazon affiliate link in the video description. And enough of those like little trickles of income from Amazon add up to get these numbers. And so with income stream number 2 out of the way, our cumulative total for 2022 revenue is $697,462 so far. Income stream number 3, affiliate income. Okay, so we've talked about how Amazon Associates is one way of doing affiliate income, i.e. where someone buys something from a link and you get some percentage of that sale. But actually, a lot of YouTubers monetize through alternative affiliate programs as well. Now, these tend to be deals that you would negotiate on your own. So for example, I have deals with around 10 different companies that I use for various things. And so either they'll have an affiliate program built in, or I'll email them and be like, hey, I would love to promote you because I use you already. Like, do you have an affiliate program? So something like Epidemic Sound, which is the service that I've been using since 2017 and paying $15 a month for since 2017 to get background music, royalty-free background music for this channel. We have an Epidemic Sound affiliate link, which is always in the video description. And if someone signs up to a trial, we'll earn a certain amount of money from Epidemic Sound. Similarly, there's a website hosting platform called Ghost, which I've been using since 2016. So for the last 7 years now, I've been hosting my website on Ghost. We have an affiliate deal with Ghost, where if someone signs up with my link, then we'll get some recurring commission based on that. Similarly, physical products, like I have an affiliate link for this keyboard that I use quite often. I've got an affiliate link for the Paper-like screen protector, which is the screen protector I have on my iPad. And so these things aren't like traditional sponsorships, which we're going to talk about in a sec, where a company pays you to present an ad in the video. It's more like if you recommend the product and you put the link in the video description, and then if someone happens to buy the link, then you'll get some percentage of that sale. Now, the thing with Amazon Associates is that those percentages are usually quite small, but if you're speaking to a company directly and if they like you and you have a good relationship with them, you can get, for example, instead of 1 or 2% affiliate commissions, you can get 10 or 20 or 30 or even 50% affiliate commissions. And so that makes affiliate income one of the larger sources of income for a lot of YouTubers that I know. And the cool thing about affiliate income and Amazon Associates as well is that you don't need a certain audience size to start making money from them. And usually what I recommend to people, because I teach people in my part-time YouTuber Academy, more on that later, is that you might as well sign up for Amazon Associates from day one, because even if you have like 10 views on one of your videos and you mention a book, and if someone buys that book, it's just kind of nice to know that you've earned like 5 or 6 cents from that someone buying your book. And it fuels the fire of motivation to keep continuing with this stuff. So I've been using these affiliate links since day one on my channel where no one was watching any of my videos, because I knew that, hey, at some point it'll be nice to earn a few dollars here and there, even if it's not very much. Anyway, when it comes to affiliate income, these are what the numbers look like for our channel. So in 2017, made a grand total of nothing from affiliate income because that was my first year of building up. I didn't really know you could do this. I didn't really have any relationships with existing companies. In 2018, we also made absolutely nothing from affiliate income other than Amazon Associates. In 2019, things started to get interesting, and that year we made $37,561 from affiliate income, and I think that was mostly through the paper-like screen protector for the iPad. Now that was pretty sick because at the time, that was almost exactly how much money I was earning working full-time as a doctor in the UK's National Health Service, around about $37,000, $38,000. And so the fact that this YouTube channel was able to earn that much money, essentially through me plugging an iPad screen protector, which I still use on my iPad to this day, completely blew my mind. And that was one of the things that made me realize, hang on, I've been doing this YouTube thing for 3 years now. Maybe this is actually going somewhere. Maybe there is something here where it could turn into a viable stream of income, even outside of my day job as a doctor. Anyway, in 2020, we did $162,859 in terms of affiliate income. In 2021, that number was $178,315. And this year, in 2022, that number is going to be around about $235,665 from affiliate income. And the cool thing about affiliate income as well is that it's very non-arduous. Like, I have all these different deals with all these companies, but it's not like they're giving me deadlines and saying you have to mention this in a sponsored video, which is what sponsorships are like. More on that in a sec. And it's just like, hey, whenever it makes sense to mention a product, we'll just happen to put the affiliate link in the video description. So it's very natural, it's very easy. I really like doing affiliate deals, and I kind of prefer them compared to sponsorship deals because sponsorship deals are a little bit more arduous. But anyway, so far from these 3 income streams, that means our total revenue for this year is $933,127. By the way, if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, I would love it if you can smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Apparently it really helps. Income stream number 4, YouTube sponsorships. Okay, so now we're getting into interesting territory because YouTube sponsorships for bigger YouTubers can often be a far bigger source of income than YouTube AdSense itself. Now, you've almost certainly come across YouTube sponsorships if you have spent any amount of time on YouTube at all. This is where a creator might say that this video, for example, is sponsored by Skillshare. More on those a little bit later, or NordVPN, or Squarespace, or any of these other companies that do lots of YouTube sponsorships. And essentially the idea there is that the creator is being paid to say a kind of ad somewhere in the middle of the video or at the end of the video, or sometimes even at the start of the video, although that's kind of annoying. I try and avoid those ones. And this is where things can get a little bit dodgy because as a creator, you're very much incentivized to take on these sponsorship deals because a company's paying you money to say something. But then, depending on the creator, people have different levels of integrity. I, for example, don't get sponsored by companies that I don't use. And so we've been offered so many different sponsorships. They come in literally every single day. But I always say, if I'm not already using the thing, then we're not gonna get sponsored by them. If they're offering a large amount of money, I will often try out the thing and see, is it a thing that I'm gonna actually start using? If the answer is yes, and 6 months later, I have been using it consistently, then we'll say yes to the sponsorship. But if the answer is no, then it's just not worth it. I've been offered things in the past where I've been like filming stuff and being like, oh, I'm promoting a product I don't actually use. Oh, this feels really bad. And I'm pleased to say that in those decisions, I decided to cancel the sponsorship rather than plug a product that I didn't actually use. Anyway, all that virtue signaling aside, this is a huge source of income for a lot of YouTubers, and it's hard to it's quite opaque in the industry, like how much money YouTubers or creators would actually get paid for these sponsorships. One number that a lot of people throw out is around about $15 CPM, i.e. per 1,000 views. So if you look at your last 10 videos, you take an average of view counts on those. Let's say you got 100,000 views. With a $15 CPM, i.e. $15 per 1,000 views, you're therefore getting $1,500 for the 100,000 views that your channel is averaging. That's just one way of valuing sponsorships. Some companies have higher CPMs, some have lower CPMs, that kind of thing. Some companies won't even base their things on CPMs at all. So for example, if Google or Facebook are sponsoring videos, for them it's a lot more about like brand awareness and brand association rather than how many eyeballs did we get on our particular ad. Alternatively, Alternatively, some companies might instead value their sponsorship offers based on the conversions. And so generally, like, let's say you go on my special link to Skillshare, depending on how many people click on that special link for Skillshare will track the data behind the scenes, and they'll say to me next time around, be like, hey, your link performed really well. We're going to up your rate. Or in a lot of cases, your link didn't perform very well, we're going to like decrease your rate. And you end up in this sort of negotiation type thing where you're like playing around with this idea of views and brand awareness and like conversions, and all of these different factors go into valuing the sponsorship stuff. And this is where agencies can come in quite handy. Like, for example, we're part of an agency right now, it's called 16th, it's great. And so they handle a bunch of our sponsorship deals, but also we've been doing this stuff for quite a while. So now we have a pretty good idea of what our channel is worth in terms of sponsorships. I'm not gonna give you the exact numbers, but maybe if you want, you can reverse engineer it from some of the stats. But anyway, in 2017, made a grand total of $0 from sponsored content. And 2018, that was like, I think when I had around about 80,000 subscribers, that was when we got our first sponsorship deal. I remember we had one deal from Primark and another deal from Rosetta Stone in 2018, which was pretty sick. We also had 3 deals with these 3 other companies, but then the marketing company that was representing them went bust, so I never got the money. But anyway, in 2018, the money that hit our account was $7,609 from sponsorships. In 2019, that number was $39,721. In 2020, that number went up to $174,583 from sponsorships. In 2021, that number was $440,000 from sponsorships. And this year in 2022, that number was $598,744-ish from sponsorships. Now I'm saying ish for this year because there is some level of uncertainty in these numbers. Firstly, because of GBP to USD dollar conversion rates, we've used the average, like for each of these years, like the money that actually hit our account was based in pounds because I'm in the UK and everything is in pounds. But the reason I'm saying it in dollars is because dollars is more of an internationally recognized currency, and only like 10% of the people that watch this channel are from the UK. And generally people outside the UK don't have an intrinsic idea of what their own currency to GBP conversion is, but they tend to have more of an idea of what their own country to USD conversion is. Firstly. Secondly, in order to convert these numbers from pounds to dollars, we're using an average conversion rate for the year. So for example, this year, the average conversion rate was 1.2389, but last year it was 1.3757. And so some of the numbers are skewed in favor of last year because the conversion rate was a bit higher. But also now that we're a big business and we have to like accounts and management accounts and stuff, those numbers, like I'm filming this middle of December 2022. And so those numbers have not yet been fully reconciled for the last like month or two. And our accountants are going to be taking all the numbers in and then putting it all together properly and then submitting the actual tax return to His Majesty's, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. I'm not even sure what you call it these days, HMRC. And so when that happens, that's when we're going to get the final tally. And so to an extent, the numbers for this year are a little bit of an estimate. We have all of the accounts reconciled up until like end of October. And so for the final 2 months, we're doing some estimates based on invoices we have due and based on some extrapolations. That's why these numbers may be, you know, there might be a margin of error like 5%, 10%. Hopefully it's not going to be that high, but who knows, there's going to be some kind of margin of error. Just saying that up front. In case someone decides to look up our company accounts because it's public information and sees a year later that, hey, the accounts you submitted don't quite match. It's because we're doing some amount of estimates when it comes to making this video in particular. Anyway, with these 4 income streams, that brings our cumulative total revenue for the year to $1,531,871 so far. Income stream number 5, podcast. All right, so this is a fun one. So I actually have 2 podcasts. One is called Not Overthinking, which is a casual, fun little podcast that I've been doing with my brother since like 2019. But actually about a year ago, we started a proper podcast called Deep Dive with Abdaal. You can find it on all podcast platforms where I interview entrepreneurs and academics and authors and creators and other inspiring people. And we find out how they got to where they are and the strategies and tools we can learn from them to help live our best lives. And that podcast started at 0 about 12 months ago, and it's grown to something like 150,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty cool. And however many hundreds of thousands of monthly downloads. I don't really look at the analytics for the podcast or the YouTube channel particularly because I try not to look at the numbers myself. So firstly, we get some money from YouTube ads because, well, the podcast is a video podcast and it's on YouTube, and therefore any ads that play in the podcast, we get some small amount of money towards. But we also have some sponsorships on the podcast, and these function exactly the same as YouTube sponsorships. We might have like a handful of sponsors per podcast, and it might be something like Skillshare or Shortform or Heights, or like essentially companies whose products I genuinely use, who we then have deals with for the YouTube channel, but also for the podcast, and that's pretty cool. Anyway, in 2017 and 2018, I didn't have a podcast, and so we made $0 from podcasts. In 2019, that was when we started Not Overthinking, the podcast with my brother, and we had like a handful of sponsorship deals and made $400 that year from sponsorships. In 2020, we took on a few more sponsorships and made $7,400 in sponsorships before deciding that we actually didn't want to have sponsorships on Not Overthinking because it applied too much stress and pressure to publish consistently, which was probably a good thing at the time. And so now we're a bit less consistent because because we don't have that pressure of a sponsorship deadline. And then 2021 was when the Deep Dive with Ali Abdaal, the main proper podcast, actually started, the one that we're actually taking seriously and doing like super consistently, and that's growing really nicely. And that year the podcast made $29,258. But this year's been great. The podcast has grown an absolutely huge amount. It's in the top 1% of podcasts shared globally, according to Spotify Unwrapped. It's in the top 1% of podcasts listened to globally, according to Spotify Unwrapped, which is awesome. But this year the podcast has in total made around $153,461. Now, when I made this video last year, I said the podcast was actually losing money, and it was at the time because we had like, I think 1 and a bit full-time people on the podcast, and 29K that we made from sponsorships didn't quite cover their salary. But now the podcast is profitable, which is awesome because, to be honest, I would run the podcast even if it wasn't profitable because it's just so fun interviewing these incredible people and learning from them. And I've also made a bunch of in real life friends through people that I met on the podcast initially. So it's just been fantastic all around. Would recommend starting a podcast. It's genuinely really hard to grow a podcast. Often podcasts grow through YouTube clips and through like TikTok and other social media type stuff. And so it takes a lot of work to actually grow a podcast to the point that it gets monetized. Anyway, with this 5th income stream considered, our total cumulative revenue for the year so far is $1,685,332. Income stream number 6, the email newsletter. Now this is a fun one that's only started making money this year. So essentially since like March of 2018, I started an email newsletter where every week, every Sunday, it's called Sunday Snippets. It's still continuing to this day. Every single week, I send an email to the however many people are on the mailing list. I think it's almost 200,000 people now. Started with like 200, but I send an email to around like 200,000 people with my thoughts for the week and like what I've been up to and what I've been thinking about, but also some books or podcasts or music or articles that I've been listening to and enjoying. Yeah, that email is somehow read by all these people every week, and that's sick. But this year, for the first time, we actually got the email newsletter sponsored. I think each issue of the email newsletter is sponsored now, and we've got a load of sponsors booked in for 2023 as well, which is pretty awesome. And that's essentially the same idea as a YouTube sponsorship, but it's in an email. And so at the bottom of the email, it says, this issue is brought to you by Skillshare or Morning Brew or whatever other company is sponsoring the newsletter that week. And if you're interested in making money from newsletter sponsorships, essentially, it doesn't really matter how big the audience is, as long as the audience is targeted. So actually, there's kind of 2 ways of doing it. In our case, we have a very untargeted audience, which is quite big. And so sponsors are keen to get their product in front of a certain number of eyeballs. But I know plenty of newsletters that have only a few thousand, for example, subscribers rather than a few 100,000 subscribers, but those few thousand are like very targeted. So for example, entrepreneurs or CEOs or business owners or creators. And so companies that are targeting specifically those people will pay a lot of money to target even a smaller number of those people, rather than in our case, which is pay a smaller amount of money to target a large number of people, most of whom the product probably won't be relevant for. And so if you're interested in doing this whole creator thing, you actually don't need to become a YouTuber necessarily. You can absolutely make a full-time living through writing on the internet through the form of like Twitter or LinkedIn or Quora or Medium or an email newsletter. And if you're interested in learning more, this book is sick, The Art and Business of Online Writing by my friend Nicholas Cole. We've been internet friends for the last year and met up a few weeks ago when he came to London to do a podcast recording. So there will be an Amazon affiliate link to this book in the video description if you want to check it out. But this is actually sick. I've been recommending this book to so many people, The Art and Business of Online Writing. And it just shows that you can be a creator without having to debase yourself on camera like I do every single week and I have been doing for the last 6 years. You can do it through writing if you're a little bit more highbrow. Anyway, the email newsletter made absolutely nothing 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, even though I was writing these issues every single Sunday since 2018 onwards. But this year in 2022, we made $97,739 off of sponsorships on the email newsletter, which is pretty sick. And that brings our total cumulative revenue for this year to $1,783,071 so far. Income stream number 7, social media, Instagram and TikTok. So we talked about how being a creator you can also do through writing, but also loads of people make money through Instagram and TikTok. I don't make a lot of money through Instagram and TikTok because it's only this year that we started, I think we did like 1 or 2 sponsored posts, because mostly it's this YouTube channel that I focus on. And then my Instagram is just sort of me chilling and doing stuff. And my Twitter is not particularly sponsored, and my TikTok is just me sharing tips about productivity and things like that. But we want to try and do a few more sponsorships and maybe affiliate deals on those social media platforms in 2023. But essentially, because I did 0 sponsorships, this basically made 0 money up until this year, where actually we made $37,061 through Instagram and TikTok, and a combination of sponsorships that I think we initially got for the YouTube channel and the newsletter, but we kind of upsold them and be like, hey, we'll do an Instagram story or we'll do a TikTok post or things like that. So $37,061, it's nothing to scoff at, but not particularly interesting compared to these other different revenue streams. Although of course, for a bunch of creators that are maybe huge on Instagram or on TikTok, they can make absolutely stupid amounts of money through Instagram and TikTok content that's sponsored. It's kind of funny to see sometimes where You know, the amount of effort it takes into making a YouTube video is just absolutely huge. And I know people who get paid way more than I do for a sponsorship, and it's like an Instagram story, or it's like an Instagram reel that took them 10 minutes to make, rather than a video that takes like 2 hours to film, 10 hours to prepare, like an editor, 20 hours to edit. Like the amount of kind of how much money you can make for sponsorships and social media in terms of the amount of time invested for Instagram and TikTok versus YouTube is pretty skewed. But having said that, YouTube, I think overall is a better platform for longevity, I hope, fingers crossed, and also for kind of maturity of the monetization end and like evergreenness and all this kind of stuff, which is why a lot of people who are big on Instagram and TikTok want to ultimately try and get big on YouTube because they've realized the value of an audience on YouTube. Anyway, all that said, that brings our total cumulative revenue so far to $1,820,133. Income stream number 8, merch. All right, this is another one that you're probably familiar with. You might have seen YouTubers and influencers and creators generally plug their merch. And so we launched these merch. We've got this part-time productivity planner. By the way, these are on sale. There's like an end of year sale if you want to buy these, link in the video description. And this sort of to-do list, my most important task thing. Honestly, this was a bit of a side hustle, and it was a bit of an experiment to see what it would be like to make physical products. Because I've been making digital products and courses and stuff for years, but there's something cool about designing my own stationery that I wanted to do, and it was fun. It wasn't particularly profitable because the margins on physical products are just really annoyingly low. And we kept on getting comments from people being like, oh my God, I can't believe you're charging $25 for a notebook. I was like, bro, you have any idea how much it costs to print? Like, it costs us $15 to like print a notebook because of the small quantities that we're dealing with. We're dealing with sort of hundreds or thousands of units rather than tens or hundreds of thousands of units, which is where you really get bulk discounts. You know, it was a fun experiment. I don't think we are going to be continuing these for next year, but we are working on another physical product brand, which is going to be more around tech and keyboards and bags and that kind of stuff. More details on that to come in 2023, and of course we're going to be documenting the journey as we go along. But the Essentially products in total made $63,603 in 2022. It was a bit of an experiment. It was cool working with a company to kind of make these and fulfill them and stuff, and people do seem to like them, which is awesome. And we have various team members who actually continue to use theirs to this day. I used to use mine, being fully honest, but I actually switched to the bullet journal method for journaling rather than my own part-time productivity planner for various reasons. But anyway, $63,603 this year from merch, and that takes our cumulative total to $1,883,736 so far. Income stream number 9, digital products. Now we're getting into the territory where you can sell your own stuff. And a lot of creators will make money through selling digital products. So for example, I interviewed Grace Beverly, who's used to be a fitness influencer on my podcast. Super sick episode, you should check it out, link down below. But I interviewed Grace Beverly, and when she was at the sort of in her fitness influencer career as one of the OG YouTubers who was doing fitness content, she was selling like PDFs of workout plans and nutrition plans and stuff for like £35, $30, $40, that kind of price range, and seemed to sell around about 300,000 units. And so just doing the maths off the top of my head, it's like she's made over £10 million from selling PDFs, which is just insane. It's so cool. It's super, super, super inspiring. But that's an example of a digital product. It's like a thing that it takes you a small amount of effort to make once, and then you can sell it for generally a smallish amount of money to people. And if you sell it to enough people, you can make stupidly absurd amounts of money through selling digital products. Currently, we don't sell very many digital products. We sell one, and that's something we started selling this year, and that is a Ghost template. So Ghost is a website building platform that I've been using since 2016 for my own website. And I worked with a designer and developer called Dan to design our own theme for our Ghost website. You can check it out on aliabdaal.com. And loads of people emailed us being like, hey, can I get this theme? I want my website to look like yours. And so we thought, hey, why don't we just sell this theme? And so this year we have made a grand total of $462 selling this website theme to people who happen to have their website hosted on this niche platform Ghost and also want it to look like my personal website. So absolutely nowhere near the 10 million that other people that I know have made from selling PDFs and digital products, but it's something we might dabble with more next year, selling digital products. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that brings our total cumulative revenue for this year so far to $1,884,198. Income stream number 10, Skillshare. Okay, so now we're getting into the final 3 income sources, and these are all based around online courses. And this one that we're talking about right now is Skillshare. Now you will have almost certainly come across Skillshare at some point on the internet. They do a lot of sponsorships with YouTubers and creators, including me. But actually the way we make most of our money from Skillshare is not through sponsorships. It's through the fact that I have around 12, 13, I've even lost count. I have all these classes that I've made exclusively on Skillshare. And so essentially people with a Skillshare subscription, it's sort of like Netflix. You pay, I don't know, $10 a month or something like that. And then you can watch as much content as you want. And the payment process for teachers like me on Skillshare is sort of like streaming royalties. So for every minute of watch time that someone watches one of my classes, I will earn some small amount of money, maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 cents. But if I get several 100,000 minutes of watch time every month, then that can correspond to a pretty reasonable salary or income from Skillshare. So in 2017 and 2018, I made 0 online courses on Skillshare, so no income there. But in 2019, end of 2019 was when I made my first online course on Skillshare. And that was a course around how to edit videos in Final Cut Pro. And it took me like a day to film, and it took a freelancer a couple of days to edit. And that course has been sitting on there on Skillshare since September of 2019, and has been making several $1,000s every month since then, which is absolutely absurd because this one course that took me 1 day to film, and I hired a guy to spend 2 days editing it, and then me a day doing like the final touches. Like 2 days worth of work is making a few $1,000s a month completely passively. I never really talk about the course. I think it's linked in some of my video descriptions, but people just take this course. I genuinely think it's really good. Like I've just recommended it to loads of people being like, hey, if you want to learn how to edit videos, just take this course. It's completely free. You can access it on Skillshare, and that course makes several K every month, which is awesome. But in 2019, we made $8,470 through Skillshare, through teaching on Skillshare. In 2020, we made $449,295 on Skillshare. Again, blew my mind, completely absurd. In 2021, that number was even higher, and it went up to $859,106. Yes, that year, 2021, I think this was our second highest revenue source, just somehow managed to make $859,000 just teaching classes on Skillshare. And it's particularly good, and I love Skillshare so much, and we have such a great relationship with them. We know some of the people on their team, they're good people, because Skillshare also sponsor my videos. And so when I'm doing a Skillshare sponsorship for a video, it means I can plug my own classes on Skillshare, which is just like synergy that is almost unheard of with any other sponsor. And in fact, Skillshare are actually sponsoring this very video. So if, for example, you're interested in taking classes from all sorts of topics, from entrepreneurship and graphic design and interior design and cooking to all those sorts of things, you can just sign up for a free trial of Skillshare. If you're one of the first 1,000 people to hit the link in the video description, you'll get a totally free 30-day free trial. And in that time, you can watch all of my classes. I have like 12 of them. There's the video editing one that we've talked about. There's YouTube for beginners, which is sick. It's like 4 hours long. I think it's absolutely incredible. Loads of people have said that they would have paid like hundreds of dollars for that class, but it's completely free on Skillshare. I've also got stuff around productivity and how to study for exams and how to use Anki flashcards and a bunch of other classes on Skillshare that you can watch entirely to your heart's content, completely for free, but just hitting the link in the video description and signing up to a totally free trial. And then once your free trial is over, you have the option of signing up to the annual premium membership. I sign up for it, I pay for it. Skillshare is genuinely a good place that I go to when I want to learn something specific, like a thing in Photoshop or a thing in After Effects. Usually someone on Skillshare will have created a decent class on that particular thing, and so I can learn the thing on Skillshare without having to trawl through YouTube videos. So if, for example, you are interested in taking some online classes, including some of mine, then you can hit the link in the video description. And thank you so much, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. But you see what I did there? Like, you know, this is a sponsored segment from Skillshare, so Skillshare are paying me to say that in this video, but I can plug my own classes. And so hopefully some people will click the link, thus they'll watch my classes, and now I get like paid for doing this video, but I also get paid for the watch time royalties of people taking my classes on Skillshare, and it becomes this reinforcing loop. Unfortunately, in about the middle of 2022 this year, Skillshare changed their pricing structure, and our monthly revenue took a bit of a hit on Skillshare. So actually this year we've only made $778,131, which is still pretty absurd, but it's not quite the levels of 2021 where we did $859,000. And I suspect next year it's going to be even lower, because I think Skillshare has been hit with the recession like everyone else has and is trying to save money. But hey, you know, it's still very profitable for us to continue to keep our classes on Skillshare. So while it continues to make sense, we're going to keep on doing it. And the other thing I like about teaching on Skillshare is that it's free for users to access. Like anyone can sign up for a free trial and then cancel it if they really want. So I think it's cool because it gives, especially for my classes aimed at students, it means they don't actually have to pay for it, rather than when it comes to my proper actual courses, which cost quite a lot of money. Skillshare is nice to have that kind of low price or free alternative for people that don't want to or that can't afford to pay for the other stuff. Anyway, with Skillshare taken into account, our cumulative total revenue for the year so far is $2,662,329. So we've talked about one way of selling online courses, which is on Skillshare, where you don't really sell them, you get paid watch time royalties. But another way of selling online courses is to host them yourself, using a platform like Podia or Teachable or Kajabi or Samcard. Like there's loads of different online course hosting platforms, but essentially you get your own website like mine I think is academy.aliabdaal.com or whatever the subdomain is. And then people can directly go on your website and directly pay you some amount of money to sign up to your online course. And we have 2 online courses in particular that we released this year. One is called the Creatorpreneur course and the other one is Camera Confidence. So the Creatorpreneur course is a self-paced online course aimed at creators that want to treat their creator thing more like a business. So it's got 3 modules: workflow, cash flow, outflow. It's about how to optimize your systems and structures to think of your creator thing more as a business. It's about how to make money, figuring out what products to sell to your audience, and then how to outsource and build a team. And essentially, what does it look like if you as a creator think of your thing more like a business and less like a creative outlet or whatever. Anyway, I think we sell that course for around $800 and some amount of people buy it every month, which is awesome. And then we also have a much cheaper Camera Confidence course, which is, a couple of hours long. It's some video modules and some workshops and trainings and stuff where I teach people how to be more confident on camera. And I think we sell that for $149. So those 2 are self-hosted courses. They're not on Skillshare. They're not available anywhere. You have to actually pay money for those courses, or you can sign up to a scholarship if you want, because we give out free spots for people that can't afford it. But anyway, that aside, this year was the first year that we did that. To be honest, the reason we did that is because a couple of years ago, I realized that the Skillshare thing was probably too good to be true and that this was not going to be sustainable. I was like, there's no way in hell Skillshare can continue to sustain paying us stupid amounts of money every month for us to host our courses on there. And immediately I was like, right guys, I said this to the team, we need to start making our own courses and hosting them ourselves, because when you host something yourself and it's your own product, you're not reliant on a third-party platform and their rules. So like we saw this with Skillshare. It's like it was a long time coming, but a few months ago they changed their monetization strategy, and that immediately took a 50% hit to our revenue from Skillshare. Like immediately overnight, we lost 50% of our Skillshare revenue. I was like, okay, cool, fair enough. We kind of knew this was coming. Similarly, I've got a couple of YouTuber friends that got banned from Skillshare, and overnight they lost all of their Skillshare revenue. And this is what happens when you become overly reliant on a third-party platform where you don't control the asset yourself. And so, we still use Skillshare, it's still great, we still love the team, good vibes all around. But in terms of diversification, in terms of just being sensible with kind of how we're making revenue from the business, it made so much sense to have our own products that we could sell as higher ticket courses that we hosted ourselves. Anyway, we made absolutely no money from self-hosted courses in 2017, 18, 19, 20, and 21 because we didn't have any. All my courses were on Skillshare. But this year we've made actually $179,026 off of selling these 2 self-hosted courses. Haven't marketed them or sold them particularly well, which they've just been on the website and occasionally people will buy them, and that's awesome. But that brings our cumulative total revenue before we get to the final income stream to $2,841,355. Income stream number 12, cohort-based courses. Now, in 2020, towards the end of 2020, I launched a course called the Part-Time YouTuber Academy. And we ran 1 live cohort in 2020, and then 3 in 2021, and then so far 3 in 2022. So far we've done 7 cohorts of this course. And a cohort is it's basically like a live online course where for either 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, depending on which cohort it was, people come in, we have a few hundred people, and then I teach them on like live Zoom calls, and we have loads of like accountability and support and feedback and workshops, and it's a very, very, very involved thing. It's like doing like a physical course in real life where you have workshops and boot camps and things like that, but it's all online over Zoom, and we have a few hundred people each time. And so far, I think we've got like 2,000 something students through the cohort. But this is what took our numbers to absolutely insane levels. So in 2020, we made $282,414 in top line revenue from the cohort. This is not taking costs into account. It costs a lot to put one of these cohorts on. We had to hire a whole team for it and a whole bunch of student supporters, and there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into it. And the team do a fantastic job of putting everything together for these cohorts. I don't have to do very much these days. I just show up and teach and provide the content and the material and stuff, but it's a team that does most of the work. So there's a lot of costs associated with this as well. But then in 2021, we made an absurd number, $2 million, or essentially just over $2 million, $2,050,000-ish from the 3 cohorts of our Part-Time YouTuber Academy. This was absolutely absurd. I think it was the middle of pandemic. People were flocking to online education. We had so many students take our course. We had a bunch of success stories from the previous cohorts of the course. So people were like, oh, sick, this is awesome. And it just absolutely exploded beyond our wildest dreams. And then we made a couple of mistakes. Number one, we kept on raising the prices because we were like, oh, this is just selling out. Let's just keep raising the prices. Let's keep adding more and more stuff to it. And I think we dipped beyond the point where it became sort of a comfortable amount of money. So right now, I think the cheapest package for the course is $2,000, which is a lot for someone to just take out their card and sell. And having spoken to people who do sales and marketing stuff, they've all said basically that this $2,000 mark is usually the point where someone would have to, pick up the phone or hop on a Zoom call with someone to actually have a conversation with a real life person before spending this kind of money. And we just sort of kept on increasing the prices beyond that point. And that was probably a bad idea. But also, we also then did a really bad job with sales and marketing overall. And in 2021, we had a bunch more videos teaching people how to be creators that plugged the course. And in 2022, I think also because we made fewer videos overall, and I was mostly focused on my book, and I was kind of like, don't really care about making YouTube videos aimed at YouTubers because that's not really my content. But that was the sort of videos that sold the course. That ended up meaning that we got fewer people onto our waiting list. And even though our conversion rates kind of stayed exactly the same, i.e. if someone looked at the page, they were just as likely to buy this year as compared to last year, we just had fewer people coming into the top of the page because I made less videos about how to be a YouTuber. But also I suspect, in 2022, the world came back to life. People stopped caring so much about online courses and live cohorts, and everyone else I know who runs live cohort courses also had a little bit of a dip. But in 2022, all of that aside, we made $1,759,238 from our part-time YouTuber Academy. So a little bit of a decrease in revenue compared to last year, but I think makes sense given that we didn't really focus on sales and marketing at all, and given that we have a recession and that we made the mistake of increasing prices. But yeah, loads of lessons taken forward for 2023 to see what we can do next when it comes to the part-time YouTuber Academy. It's super fun. Our students love it. We have a very low refund rate. Like, we basically offer refunds to anyone if they don't like the course, no questions asked broadly. And very, very, very few people take us up on that. So I think it's a really solid course, but I think kind of we sort of failed a little bit in sales and marketing. But even though we failed a bit in sales and marketing, we still managed to do $1.76 million worth of revenue, which I think is reasonable. Since people have seen what these numbers are like, a lot of people have always asked me, like, would I recommend doing a cohort-based course? Like, would I recommend running one? The answer is probably not. It is so much work, it's so much effort, and actually a lot of the time and effort that went into this course could have gone into maybe better things, but depending how you define better. Like, I could have made more YouTube videos, I could have focused more on my book. We're spending so much time and effort, me and the team overall, on this course and trying to serve our students as best as we could. It kind of took my eye off the ball, which is like the thing I actually care about, the thing that I personally want to do that makes me fulfilled, is reading, writing, learning, teaching, sharing stuff on the internet and doing it for free. If we didn't need to make money, I probably wouldn't run any paid courses because I think it's nice that everything is freely available on the internet. But like, we ended up in this weird situation where the course did super well in 2020 and then did really ridiculously well in 2021. And then we hired a load of people and then our fixed costs went up. And then we kind of needed to sustain a certain amount of revenue to be able to actually keep the business profitable. So we had to run various cohorts of this course again in 2022. And we ended up on this kind of weird hamster wheel where even though the course was just intended to be a bit of a side hustle, but it just ended up completely taking over the business. That I don't really want to be in the business of teaching people how to start YouTube channels live in person on Zoom for a particularly long time. That's not what makes my heart sing. What makes my heart sing is like sharing stuff and making videos about it and then moving on to the next thing. So, lots of questions to figure out, like, do we want to continue with this? Do we not? Like, what format does it look like? It makes a lot of sense to continue doing it because people love it and it's still fun to do, but it's just not quite the core focus of the business. And so that's one of the things that I've been talking a lot to my CEO coach about, to figure out, hey, when you have this kind of side hustle that's somehow doing really well, but it's not the main thing that you want to do as a business, what do you do about that? I don't know. I'll let you guys know once we figure it out. But now let's add up all the different revenues for what's been going on so far at the end of this very long and rambly video. By the way, if you like this, I'd love it if you could leave a comment about what was your favorite part of the video, what was most useful. Not sure, honestly, if we want to continue doing these videos for next year and onwards. These numbers are starting to get to a point where they're just unattainable for most people or unrealistic for most people. And I'm just a bit concerned that certainly at the start of the journey, it's kind of cute sharing real numbers. Like, oh my God, it's so transparent and nice. But when the numbers just become absurd, it almost feels too much like a flex and not enough like an educational thing. I don't know. But anyway, I would love to hear in the comments what you thought of this particular video, whether you think it's useful to continue doing this sort of stuff every year or not. Would love to hear any thoughts on this because I'm genuinely not sure. I'm not sure if it is worth continuing doing videos like this. But anyway, we're doing it for this year. So anyway, if we add up overall revenue from all these 12 income streams, what do we get for each year? Well, in 2017, it basically made absolutely nothing. And we're gonna talk about costs as well, but basically zero in 2017. Let's call it $2.27 because that's what YouTube says we made in AdSense. In 2018, our total revenue was $24,615. In 2019, it went up to $130,091. In 2020, it absolutely shot up to $1.213 million. In 2021, it shot up even more to $4,051,116. And so far for this year, our cumulative total is $4,600,593. So $4.6 million, which again is subject to a little bit of change depending on like what our accounts look like and what the dollar exchange rate and all this kind of stuff looks like. But we've tried our very best to double check all these numbers and just make sure they are as accurate as we can possibly make them. in the absence of actually having verified management accounts from our accountants, who we pay lots of money to make sure this stuff is right. But that'll come out in the next few months, so we'll see. But actually, revenue is only part of the equation. And if we talk about costs, then things paint a little bit of a different picture. So in 2017, our total costs were around about $5,156. This was mostly on gear and just actually getting started with YouTube. And that meant the profit that year was negative $5,154. In 2018, we mentioned how our revenue was $24,615, but we actually had $13,349 in costs, again, mostly camera equipment and that kind of stuff. And that meant that we had a profit for the first time of $11,266. In 2019, our revenue was $129,691, and the costs were around $25,544. Again, gear and getting a new Mac and actually outsourcing editing for the first time. So we had a profit of around about $104,147. In 2020, the costs really started to rise. So we had a revenue of $1.21 million, but we had costs of $256,740, leading to a profit of $956,267. And then in 2021, yes, our revenue was $4.05 million, but we actually had costs of $1.5 million, $1,525,402, which resulted in a profit of $2.5 million, so $2,525,714. Now, the interesting thing is here that even though in 2022, our revenue went up by a little bit to 4.6 million rather than 4.05 million, our costs actually went up by an absolute mile. And our total costs this year were $2,527,356. We spent a whole $1 million extra this year compared to last year. Yes, there was a bit of like currency exchange rate, but it's just an absurd amount of money that we spent this year on various things. And that meant that the profit this year was actually lower than what it was last year. And this year, our overall profit for the business was $2,073,237, give or take a few percentage points whenever the accounts get reconciled. Now, this is super interesting. It's the first time in my life where we've had a dip in profitability, a massive spike in costs. And I've made a video over there where I talk about like all of these failures in entrepreneurship, like all the ways that I failed this year to get to a point where we're actually less profitable this year than we were last year. So if you're interested, you can check out that video over there. But yeah, thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. Please do click there if you'd like to see kind of my response to the fact that our profit is lower than it was last year. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.